Hello, everyone. I'm here with Marek Djordjevic. He's an automotive designer and design consultant who has worked with many famous companies, including BMW and Rolls-Royce, and he is now the owner of Marek Djordjevic Incorporated. Marek is also a graduate of the famous Art Center College of Design in Pasadena, California, and he's been teaching there in the transportation department for the last 11 years. Marek, welcome.
Thank you, Mark.
Start us off by telling us why you enjoy so much teaching at Art Center.
Well, first of all, it would have to be the sense of energy that one feels in this place. It's almost a buzz with it. There's so much young talent, with so much potential for the future, that it's just a very exciting place to be. But it's also a place that keeps me sharp. It's an environment in which I can kind of get a sense of that energy from the students and use it as inspiration in my own work.
So not only do you teach the students, but you also learn from them.
Yes, it's very much a mutual relationship.
Great. We know that the transportation design industry is changing rapidly. What do you see as some of the big and important changes? And just as importantly, how do you bring those changes into the studio, the classroom that you teach?
Very exciting times for the automotive industry at the moment. We're undergoing a tremendous change, and it has to do with an impact of technology that we have witnessed in our personal devices for many years now, but they're finally making a very significant inroads into the vehicles that we'll be using. And this change is also manifested in some of the very exciting cross-cultural partnerships, especially when it comes to China and California specifically. You will see some of the new companies emerging that are challenging the existing stakeholders in the industry with some very innovative ideas of both what service to offer to customers as well as the products.
So one of these changes that you talk about involving technology is certainly going to be autonomous driving.
Yes, it's one of the
How is that going to transform the designer's role in car design?
Well, it's because it shifts the purpose and the use of the vehicle from a simple commodity to something that's far more experiential. It really opens up the possibilities of what you can experience while you're an occupant in a vehicle compared to what you're limited to today.
Exactly. At Art Center, the sponsored project is a big part of the curriculum, and that's where a company comes to Art Center with a design challenge, and the students and faculty work on that for 3 or 4 months. You've taught a lot of those. Why is that so important? How does it work when a company comes to Art Center to work with you and the students?
Well, they come for 3 main reasons, if you will. I think on one hand, it's a very noble involvement because they join us as educational partners in delivering a level of education that is on a very highly professional level. Second thing is that they are now facing challenges that they are looking to students and task for fresh answers. So they're looking to task them with the same type of challenges that they're undergoing themselves. And thirdly, it provides them with a very unique opportunity to have a first-hand insight into the talent that could potentially be their future capacity. So they look for opportunities which students to hire for internships and employment.
And over the history of Art Center, many of the students in the sponsored projects have gone on to work at those companies.
Without doubt, at least 1 or 2 have directly translated into employment.
That's interesting. Great opportunity for the students.
Absolutely. High visibility for them.
Yeah. Marek, from your experience, what do you think are the most important qualities of a great designer?
Well, first of all, talent, of course, is imperative. Without talent, it'd be difficult to have something to build on. But other than that, a good eye, a very keen sense of curiosity, very much strong discipline, and a constant learning, I think, is what it really takes to not only become a good designer, but to continue to grow as a good designer.
Tell us a little bit more about curiosity. That's really interesting. So curious about the world, about people. What do you mean by that?
I find curiosity to be both a blessing and a curse for designers because on one hand, the world around us offers constant inspiration to whatever project we're working on. But on the other hand, it's something that's impossible to switch off. So it ends up being a fact that you're working nonstop 24 hours.
So the world is always giving you stimulation and leading to new ideas about how to design.
Absolutely. And this is where the excitement for the next project always comes.
Yeah. Marek, you've been to China at least twice for the Create Change Design Forums. Give us a sense of your impression of teaching in China and the design industry in China.
I think it's tremendously exciting because it's a hugely rich culture which offers potentially very unique perspectives, not just on car design in terms of form and styling, but also in terms of how one experiences the product and transportation in general.
So the idea is to produce great designers, but to maintain a distinctly Chinese identity to the work that comes out.
Yes, I think there's a sense of imagination and storytelling that's inherent in Chinese culture that we're all very excitedly looking forward to see manifesting in design and transportation.
Right, so this has been a big theme in the Create Change Design forums, where we've come with design experts from Art Center College of Design, but we've really tried to get the Chinese designers to see how their own culture and their own tradition can create globally competitive design. And I think you're a big proponent of that.
Absolutely. I'm excited about that sense of uniqueness that they can bring about.
Yeah. So you'll be teaching an advanced design workshop for working professionals in Beijing in July. Tell us a little bit about the workshop.
Very exciting. It will focus on what I call building up skills in intelligent creativity, which brings a sense of importance to both the research side, the understanding, the knowledge, but as well imagination and the creative spark that's within us.
And I know that you're going to be doing both exterior design and
Correct.
Interior design. That's a kind of an interesting combination. Why is that so important to teach these and to learn about them together?
In the relationship between the two, the interior design and exterior design, in companies today is more integral than ever. Especially because we spoke a little bit about the transformation in industry that's taking place. A lot of it has to do with the type of experience that the companies will be offering to their customers, especially on the interior of the vehicle. So very often these days we find that it's the interior of the vehicle that has a tremendous effect in shaping the exterior as well.
That's interesting.
In some companies, you'll have designers working exclusively on interior designs or on exterior designs, but increasingly so, we're finding that companies are beginning to request that designers do both.
So this is part of the transformation you mentioned earlier towards the importance of the experience of driving.
Absolutely.
Great. So we have a 6-day workshop that you'll be doing. Tell us a little bit about what the participants will learn. What will they get out of the workshop?
Very important things that I'd like them to pick up from this is how to look at things, how to see things, because that's important in how you're going to then communicate both design and the work accomplished. I also would like them to get out of a perspective on how to think about design, how to think both about problems and about opportunities. Also about how to talk about design, how to communicate the idea, how to sell an idea. But very importantly, all this will be within the structure of automotive design process. How to design cars, both interiors and exteriors, in a way of highest quality.
That sounds wonderful. I think it's incredibly important, especially in Chinese car companies, to be able to sell your idea, as you said. So there'll be some part of the workshop will be about presentation, how to persuasively convince someone that what you've designed is the way to go.
Yes, we'll practice the art of critique, design critique, which is imperative in this business. But we'll also spend a lot of time focusing on the value of design, really diving deep into how to secure a valuable design in your work.
Talk about critique a little bit. I know that's a big part of how we teach at Art Center College of Design. How does critique work, and why is it so important?
The reason for its importance is actually precisely because it's something that very often designers are reluctant to do. Typically, you'll find that designers may be on the introvert psychological side of personalities, and they think that as long as they just do the greatest work, they can just put it up on the wall and it speaks for itself. And that's true to a great extent. However, in order to successfully be engaged in an automotive industry environment, you have to be able to speak to your work, to communicate the important points, the points that your audience should focus on in order to understand the objective at hand.
So this takes us into the question of how design should work at companies. And I know that you've done design workshops at other companies. Can you mention one or two of them and how that worked when you came into the company and helped the designers?
Sure. I had a very prestigious privilege of being invited to join an innovation workshop at a company where I used to intern actually when I was a student. So it was an interesting kind of coming home many years later. And it was a 3-day workshop that brought employees from their global facilities into one place in order to find avenues for the company to grow, particularly related to design innovation and product innovation.
Right.
And I found that to be a great place, a great forum to bring minds together for a sort of a brainstorm session of design thinking. And it really highlighted how so many different disciplines within one company can benefit from the way a designer thinks, and how much value that type of creativity can bring to the overall company.
So design thinking, which we talk about a lot in all parts of the world, that'll be an important part of the workshop. Can you give us a little bit more sense about what you mean by design thinking and why it's so important?
This again brings me to that phrase that I like to refer to as intelligent creativity. It's that striking that right balance between your left brain and your right brain, about understanding the issues, understanding the circumstances, identifying the key insights within a market or a culture where you're working, and as well exercising that sense of creativity, sense of flair, sense of originality that's required at every project.
I love that idea. So it's not just creativity in any pure sense, but it's creativity with a knowledge and intelligence.
With a context.
Right, the context in which you're designing.
Absolutely.
That's really good. You've worked at BMW and Rolls-Royce. Share with us the most challenging situation you've ever faced as a designer in a big car company.
I think that one's easy. It's probably shared with every single car designer in the industry. Probably the most challenging time in a career of a car designer is when you have a design that's been selected for production, undergoes development for maybe 1 to 3, 4 years, and then gets canceled for no reason or for political reasons or otherwise. Right. Usually, probably that would be the hardest to bear moment in the career. But there's always the next one, so the hope remains.
And you just keep going.
You just keep going. Yes.
So that you have a design you've worked on canceled. That leads to an interesting question. What kind of leadership have you experienced in these car companies that you thought was either very, very good or not so good? So talk about design management and how designers work with the leadership in a company.
As for design leadership, I would say what's imperative is a sense of empowerment. Leaders that lead by example and demonstrate a sense of integrity have always been the most inspiring to me. And as far as the teams are concerned, again, it's the sense of inspiration. You really want to work in an environment in which the key to the chemistry it revolves around inspiration. We can do collaborative projects, we can do competitive projects, but if the key component in that relationship is mutual inspiration, success will always be part of it.
And you talk about collaboration, so designers often work in teams. What is the best kind of team? What is the dynamic of a collaborative team that really succeeds, do you think?
I think it's probably best cased around the scenario where the gifts or the talents or the skills are complementary, so that you can really allow people to perform their best cards, if you will, play their best cards in an environment that supports what somebody else is doing within that team.
So everybody has certain expertises, and you try and put it all together like a great stew.
That's true. Yeah, I think knowing your teammates helps a lot as well, and this is again where leadership is important to understand how to orchestrate such an environment. Like an orchestra, you can have as many or as few members play, but as long as everybody plays their instruments to the best of their possibility or capacity or ability, great results in harmony.
And led by an inspirational conductor.
Of course, always.
Great. Marek, thank you very much. It's been terrific, and we look forward to your workshop in Beijing in July. Thank you.
My pleasure, Mark. Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you there.
Okay.